Brothers,
Shalom.
is Elder Tazadakba and Elder Taziawan. Here with another lesson. I did a lesson with Elder Inat maybe about a week ago about who is Esau Edom. So basically, I call this more lies of Esau Edom, and I'm actually filming and using the book Who is Esau Edom once again. Who is Esau Edom? So there's a passage in here that I didn't get to touch on. Well, me and the brother touched on this last week. Now this passage here, it shows a chart. It's called the legacy of Israel and Edom. Right? So I'm putting it right there on the camera. The legacy of Israel and Edom. So, and on that chart, they show you some things on that chart. At the bottom of the chart, you see to the left and then to the right. And it tells you to the right about how the Edomites is saying the 10 tribes went up into Europe. And basically, it's saying here, migrated to Europe as the Celts, Goths, Saxons, Irish, Scots, Danes, etc., the 12 tribes of Israel under the new covenant. Now, the thing about that is, those were Israelites that went into Europe and became the Celts, Goths, the Saxons, the Irish, the Scots, the Danes, because the Dane means, Denmark means the mark of Dan, dealing with the tribe of Dan. The Scots and the Irish, the word Scot is from the Hebrew word shakal, which means black. And you got the term Irish, irate man or angry man. Ish meaning man, ire meaning to be irate. Angry man or irate man. Right? So what this book here, Esau Edom, is trying to say is that the people that went up into Europe are basically so-called white people. And that they're saying that the Edomites are also so-called white people. But the Edomites are supposed to be the so-called Jews, or what you would call self-styled Jews, who basically came out of the Khazar Empire. But Esau had many sons. There were many dukes of Edom. And the principal of the dukes of Edom was Amalek. And then under Amalek would be Teman. Because Teman is the wisest of all the Edomites. Teman, they're the wisest ones. They're the thinkers. They're the ones that come up with the technology. That would be the Germans, the people that are in Germany today. But in all these different European lands, Negroes were up in these lands. Not you so-called white people. And before you so-called white people took these lands were inhabited by the seed of Japhet. By Elisha, one of Japhet's sons. Togarmah, another one of Japhet's sons. Ashkenaz, another one of Japhet's sons. Lud, another one of Japhet's sons. Gog, Magog. These different lands that you Edomites had took over, these were Japhetic lands, and you took over these lands, and then you put the name of that land on yourself, like Ashkenaz. A group of you so-called Jews, the ones that went over there and took over the Caucasus in between the Black and Caspian Sea, because really your homeland is south of Judah. It's called Mount Seir, the land of Edom. But they call you the Ashkenazi Jews. The name Ashkenaz is one of the sons of Japhet. You're not Ashkenaz. You're not from the line of Ashkenaz. You went in there and took over the land of Ashkenaz, and then you put the name, call yourself Ashkenaz. That's what you devils like to do. You got something, brother?
I got the Job 30. Let me start there.
Okay. No, get ye are forges of lies.
All right.
Get that. Ye are forges of lies. Because what you devils like to do is you like to go into lands, Psalms 49:11, the inward thought is that they're that in the one in Job.
Mm-hmm.
What you devils like to do is you like to go into lands and take them over, and then you take on the name of the people of that land and act as if you were the people that were originally in the land, which is a damn lie. Because like the whole thing that we were looking at in the chart, that's called the legacy of Edom and Israel. This particular chart, The people on here that are from out of the loins of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are so-called black people, American, what you would call American black people. And they're not Hamitic, by the way, they're Shemitic. And you so-called white people, you're Shemitic also. Go ahead.
Psalms 49:11. It says, their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names.
Right, they call their lands after their own names. But what you like to do is take over other people's lands and then take that name and call yourself by that name. There's another one that says, remove not thy neighbor's landmark. You're notorious for doing that, removing your neighbor's landmark. Because you want to get away from the stigma of you being Esau, Edom, and being the Edomites. You got the other one in Job?
I'm coming in right
Okay.
now. Just, 1 second.
So you want to get away from the stigma of being Edomites, and you want to. I got something, Deuteronomy 32:7. It says, remember the days of old, consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee thy elders, and they will tell thee. So what are we doing here? We're going into this thing breaking down who you Edomites are. So now the thing in here when we looked at about where they're saying that they're saying that out of the Judean Israelites migrated to Europe as Celts, Goths, Saxons, Irish, Scots, Danes, etc., the 12 tribes of Israel under the new covenant. Number one, the 10 tribes of Israel around 723, 724 BC came over here to the land of the Americas under the Assyrian captivity. That's in the Apocrypha. All right, that's number one. That's in the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha tells you that the tribes came over here. Okay, the tribes came over here during the time of the Assyrian captivity. The 10 tribes were removed out of Samaria, and then they left from under Shalmaneser, and they came and they entered into the river Euphrates, and they came to the land where mankind never dwelt. That's over here in the Americas. Even in Encyclopedia Judaica, they'll tell you that the land of Osiris, which is mentioned in the book of Ezra, the land of Osiris is America. That's the land that the tribes came to. So in the 15th century, which would be 1492, when Columbus made his voyages over here to the New World, he knew the people over here were Israelites, based off of the book of Ezra. Ezra was one of the books in his possession. Go ahead.
Khan. This is Job 13:4. But ye are forgers of lies, ye are all physicians of no value.
Right. Ye are all forgers of lies, ye are physicians of no value. Now, I was reading a thing there where it said about the migrated to Europe as Celts, Goths, Saxons, Irish, Scots, and Danes. Well, this book right here is called The Negro Rulers of Scotland, right? The Negro Rulers of Scotland. And what you see is a black man, a king, sitting on a horse with his armies behind him. These are all clearly black men. The Negro Rulers of Scotland and the British Isles. So you've been lying for years. You devils have been lying for years about who the people are that were in Scotland, in the British Isles, that were in these different countries, Scotland, Ireland. It wasn't you so-called white people. It was Negroes that were in there before you devils came up in there and conquered and ran us up out of there. All right? You conquered and you ran us up out of these lands. Here you got pictures of a brother named David II, who was a Christian king around the time of 1329 to 1371 AD. Then you got another Moorish Catholic king, Robert II Stuart, AD 1371 to AD 1390. And these are clearly black men. So I'm just showing just a little bit, just a teeny bit. David II. And then the other brother right here, Robert II Stuart. The Negro Moorish Catholic King, Robert II Stuart. was the first Stuart king of Scotland, A.D. 1371 to 1390. That's just giving you a little taste of who were the people that were actually up there in Scotland and Ireland and those different lands before you Edomites came up in there and took over. Because originally, those different lands were inhabited by the seed of Japhet. So now I'm just going to briefly touch on something and just read some information and give some Babak Shah. Forgive me for a second. Yes, here it goes. Now, here we go. Now, it said the British Isles too, right? Now, here's a Irish priest, Saint Brendan the Navigator, Irish priest from Ireland, James Anderson, 1911, Riddles of Prehistoric Times. This little black Welshman, Scott, settled in France, Guanches of the Canary Island, France, Ireland, Spain, and the British Isles, and all over Europe. And that's this guy right here. Irish priest. This is a Jake. That's just an example. Then we're gonna do some reading. That's just an example right there. So what you got there?
Con. I just read it. I'll read it again. This is Job 13 and 4. The book of Job.